The funeral of Pope Francis has gotten underway at St. Peter's Square in the Vatican, with hundreds of thousands of faithful bidding farewell to the pontiff. Beijing slams the United States for creating confusion as U.S. President Donald Trump keeps claiming he's talked with President Xi Jinping about tariffs. And in Hong Kong, Chief Secretary Eric Chan stayed firm that the city will seize new opportunities amid global chaos. Good evening. You're now watching Cable News. I'm Cheryl Yun. Pope Francis was laid to rest in a solemn yet intimate funeral at St. Peter's Square in the Vatican, drawing over 200,000 mourners and dozens of world leaders to bid farewell to the pontiff who championed the poor and reshaped the Catholic Church's global mission. Quentin Yang tells us more.
Pope's simple wooden coffin, lined with zinc per his wish, was carried from St. Peter's Basilica to the sunlit square. The pontiff had choreographed the funeral himself when he revised and simplified the Vatican's rites and rituals last year, aiming to emphasize the Pope's role as a mere pastor. Over 200,000 pilgrims, cardinals, the faithful, along with dozens of world leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, and several European state heads, bid farewell to the pontiff. Presiding the ceremony, Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, Dean of the College of Cardinals, remembered Francis as a people's pope. As the service concluded, the Pope's coffin was placed on the Pope Mobile, winding through Rome's streets as thousands lined the route to pay final respects. The motorcade reached Rome's Basilica of St. Mary Major, the Pope's final resting place and a site he frequently visited, at around 7 p.m. Hong Kong time. Now the Vatican enters a 9-day mourning period, followed by a conclave to elect a new pope. Hong Kong's Cardinal Stephen Chow will also participate in the conclave. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Camerlengo overseeing the transition, will organize the gathering of 135 cardinal electors set for May. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Amid escalating trade tensions, U.S. President Donald Trump doubled down on claims of active negotiations with Beijing, asserting that his Chinese counterpart President Xi Jinping had phoned him multiple times to resolve the tariff dispute, a claim Beijing flatly rejected as spreading confusion. Quentin Yang again has more details.
Pressuring China for weeks to initiate dialogue, U.S. President Donald Trump told Time magazine Tuesday that talks with President Xi Jinping were underway. Though repeating the assertion multiple times, Trump could not provide any detail when he faced the media before leaving for Pope Francis' funeral.
You said you spoke with President Xi. Have you spoken to him since the tariffs? When was the last
I don't want to comment on that, but I've spoken to him many times, yeah.
China immediately shot back in a foreign ministry statement, denying any negotiations and urging the U.S. to cease creating confusion. However, Trump insisted the two sides will achieve a completed agreement within 3 to 4 weeks, telling reporters aboard Air Force One that his tariff strategy aimed to free up China's market.
Well, free up China, let us go in and work China because frankly, that's what we wanted last time. We almost got it, and then they backed out of that deal.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi again dismissed Trump's narrative as coercive and rooted in extreme egoism. During a regional summit in Kazakhstan, Wang said China will seek solidarity with other countries to fight against the U.S. bullying. Behind the back and forth, there were signs of some de-escalation. The Wall Street Journal reported the Trump administration might have tariffs on selected Chinese goods to ease tensions, while China is reportedly weighing exemptions for 131 U.S. product categories from retaliatory duties. Neither side has publicly confirmed these moves. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
In the face of the back-and-forth tariff war between mainland and the United States, Chief Secretary Eric Chan remained firm that Hong Kong will seize new opportunities amidst global uncertainties. Meanwhile, Science Park is considering shifting towards a domestic supercomputing system if the U.S. further tightens chip exports to China. Evelyn Bai reports.
面对这个保护主义的、我们单边主义等等一些挑战。
Chen said, under protectionism and unilateralism, Hong Kong will not yield and will confront challenges with a firm attitude of turning crises into opportunities. In the process of restructuring global trade relations and supply chains, Hong Kong must maintain confidence, stand shoulder to shoulder with the country, grasp the emerging new order, and explore new opportunities. The Trade Development Council emphasized that the city's reliance on exports to the U.S. is relatively low, and the additional tariffs imposed by the U.S. could prompt global markets to reconsider their investment strategies. Meanwhile, Sunny Chai, chairman of the board of directors of the Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation, said some political disputes spilling over into tech collaboration are not worth it. If the use of NVIDIA chips continues to be barred, there may be no choice but to turn to domestic supercomputing systems. Chai also revealed that some advanced manufacturing projects that have never been done in Hong Kong before will expand their footprints in the city, contributing new quality productive forces to the country. These projects are expected to be announced in July. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
The government defended its newly introduced anti-smoking regulations, reassuring that these measures have been balanced with the economic impacts and that it is not about going against smokers, but rather supporting them in quitting. Evelyn Bai reports.
The first phase of tobacco control measures is set to take effect on January 1st next year, including to ban on smoking while queuing for public transport, such as at taxi stands and bus stops.
基本上都係一個好指定嘅範圍。
Taking to the airwaves, Deputy Secretary for Health Eddie Lee alleviated concerns about enforcement ambiguity, stating that the delineated area of designated boarding location, like areas underneath bus shelters, are clear to everyone. If someone is standing next to you while still smoking at a bus stop, the answer is simple: don't light up, he added.
你話仲有冇朋友話：我仲食緊當年買落嘅貨尾呢咁。
Meanwhile, about alternative smoking products, Lee said Hong Kong had already prohibited their import, sale, and promotion 3 years ago. Therefore, the claim that people were using leftover stock purchased years ago has become weak. I saw videos showing students vaping e-cigarettes, with some even taking drugs. This made us more determined to complete the final step of regulation, he stressed. He noted that the measures have reached a balance with the economy, with no additional inconvenience caused for tourists.
我哋明白可能係需要時間。
Lee also said the government understands quitting smoking takes time and strong willpower, so the government will fully support those smokers who wish to quit. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
Education Secretary Christine Choi has vowed to safeguard local universities' autonomy in setting self-funded program admissions, ruling out rigid quotas under proposed reforms. Bess Leung reports.
Speaking on iCable News program Last Talk, Choi outlined key changes under the proposed post-secondary colleges amendment bill, emphasizing institutional freedom to define academic goals and intake benchmarks without uniform enrollment caps. The priority is for institutions to clearly define their course objectives and student intake targets, then assess whether they meet those benchmarks, Choi said, stressing that college registration would not hinge on size but on academic quality and societal relevance. This flexibility, she argued, fosters niche programs vital for Hong Kong's growth, even with smaller enrollments. For local universities, Choi assured funding is stable through 2028, even after a $4 billion clawback by the government due to budget deficits. She credited the university's global reputations to decades of research excellence, not just government support. Meanwhile, authorities are reviewing the definition of local students to ensure subsidies are aligned with policy goals. Choi pledged transitional arrangements to ease adjustments for families, especially new immigrants under the talent scheme, with details expected before next year's admissions. Separately, the Education Bureau will unveil a subsidy consolidation scheme next month for primary and secondary schools, optimizing resources without cutting teachers' salaries, according to Choi. Best Leung, Cable News.
Virginia Giuffre, known for her bold accusations against Britain's Prince Andrew for sexual abuse after being trafficked by convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, has died at age 41.
Giuffre, a survivor who inspired other victims to speak out, was found dead Friday at her farm in Western Australia. A statement by her relative stated that Giuffre lost her life to suicide after being a lifelong victim of sexual abuse and sex trafficking. Born in the US, Giuffre lived in Australia and founded SOAR, an advocacy group for sex trafficking survivors, in 2015. Her allegations exposed Epstein for trafficking her as a minor, playing a key role in the infamous predator's downfall. Giuffre also accused high-powered figures of sexual exploitation, including Britain's Prince Andrew, who denied the allegations but later paid millions to settle the civil case in 2022. Wealthy financier Epstein allegedly ran a sex trafficking network targeting underage girls. He was convicted in 2008 for soliciting prostitution and arrested in 2019 on federal sex trafficking of minors. He died by suicide before trial.
On to the weather now. Overcast with 1 or 2 showers. Sunny intervals during the day. Temperatures will range from 22 to 27 degrees in the urban areas and a couple of degrees higher in the New Territories. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's the news tonight. I'm Cheryl Yun. Thanks for watching and good night.